Two-time Oscar winner Hillary Swank lending some gravitas to an already pretty harrowing true story. Let's talk about Ordinary Angels. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie review for Ordinary Angels. This is still playing in theaters, and it stars Hillary Swank, like I mentioned, and Alan Ritchson, who you may know as Reacher on TV. I think that's on Amazon Prime. And he plays the father here. And we'll get into what this movie is all about and my thoughts on it here in just a second. First, though, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do movie and TV reviews here on the channel, and just about every day something new goes up. So there's always a lot going on. Please consider subscribing or hit that like button or comment below. All that stuff, of course, helps the channel out. All right, so Hillary Swank, I love her, first of all, and I actually haven't seen, believe it or not, either of her Academy Award winning movies, but I just, whenever she pops up in anything, I know, okay, this is, even if this is terrible, it's at least she's going to act the hell out of this part. And so we'll get into my thoughts on the movie side of things later, like my opinions, but her performance, of course, is great, as it always is. So this is inspired by a true story out of Louisville, Kentucky. This very, very sick girl needs some help because her dad, who's played here by Alan Ritchson, he is just recently a widow. So the family's already going through that. And also trying to save his little girl's life. She needs a transplant, and hard to come by. So this hairdresser, Sharon, played by Swank, is going through some hard times. She's an alcoholic. She is looking for some meaning in her life. So she reads about this story in the paper and ends up rallying the community to try and help these guys out with donations and whatnot. And then towards the end of the movie, the climax, we see the blizzard of '94 hit. Now, I remember that well. There were two huge snow years in my life, 93 and 94. And I think 96 had a pretty big one, too. I was in college at that point. But I was in high school for 93 and 94, and they were crazy. I'm from Pennsylvania, not Kentucky. But I know 93 was something like 2.5 feet, and 94 I think was even worse. I think that might have been 3+ feet of snow. I'm only 5'3", so 3 feet of snow is probably about up to my chest. Yeah, it was crazy. So going anywhere in that snowstorm of 94 is a fool's errand. But look, if you're trying to save your daughter's life, you're going to do what you have to do. And so that is sort of, that happens later in the movie, but that's kind of the big climax scene. So I read a little bit into this. Whenever something's based on a true story, I like to read, what is real, what is not real, what they've sort of spiced in. And so Sharon does have a hairdresser friend named Rose, who is played by Tamala Jones. She was on Castle. You may recognize her. But she doesn't really exist. And in fact, what's so interesting is the most unbelievable parts of this story are the true parts. The stuff that happens during the blizzard of 94, that stuff is apparently almost all completely true. The made-up stuff is the more sort of, routine things in movies like this. She wasn't really an alcoholic. They give her an estranged son in the movie. That was sort of fabricated a little bit. I think she does have a son, but, they had a fine relationship. But look, for the movies, all right, let's up the stakes a little bit. Let's give her alcohol as a crutch and, have her try and work through that. And I guess it makes for better storytelling than just, here's this nice lady who just wanted to do good. So I get it, because the scenes with the alcohol and trying to, save her from herself and going to the AA meetings and stuff, they were impactful, and they added some emotional heft, towards the latter part of the film. Overall, I really liked this movie, and I wasn't sure what to think going into it. The poster looks very generic, and I never saw a trailer for it. I just knew it was rated PG, so I was like, okay, it's going to be maybe a little bit safe, and all of that kind of stuff. And just from the title, Ordinary Angels, I thought, okay, well, maybe this is going to be a faith-based movie, a Christian movie, and I would say you could put it in that category. I think it's not an undeniably Christian movie, and boy, is that refreshing. Because a lot of times we get these Christian movies that, first of all, they're not that well done to begin with. They don't usually have, a huge name star like Hillary Swank in them to really lend it that gravitas. But look, we've seen a few over the years. We had Heaven is for Real, which was with Greg Kinnear, and that ended up being pretty good. There was one with Jennifer Garner a couple of years after that. I forget what that was called, but so every so often you'll get one of those. But the hitting over the head with the message, and I'm a Christian, so I'm part kind of the target audience, I think, for these movies, but I also like something a little more subtle, and you could definitely say that about this movie. There are some slight talks about miracles and praying, and there certainly are some scenes in a church, because there's a pastor that is a part of their lives and all of this, and of course there is the Ed character played by Alan Richson, who is wondering, well, what's it all about? You took my wife, now you're about to take my daughter unless she gets this transplant. So that sort of crisis of faith. But never does this movie go over the top with it, or hit you over the head. But the director rather is John Gunn, who I was unfamiliar with, but I looked up his filmography, and he does have a huge background in these historical movies. I still believe he co-wrote American Underdog. He co-wrote The Case for Christ, which I'm not familiar with that one, but he directed it. Obviously, that's a Christian movie. Jesus Revolution, which I just recently saw. Hopefully, I'm going to start doing some 2023 wrap-up videos. And that came out last February, but it's now streaming, so I finally saw that. He co-wrote that. So, obviously, that's kind of where we're going in the messaging in the movie, but it is never more than just kind of hinted at or subtle. There's never like, okay, listen, Christ is the only way. You must, follow this. And again, I'm a Christian, so I'm not necessarily offended by those messages either. But I just like something a little more subtle, in my movies. And the other interesting thing is, so this was co-written by Kelly Freeman Craig, who I recognize her because she directed and co-wrote The Edge of 17, which is great, and also Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, from last year, which was one of my favorite movies of the year. But it was also co-written by Meg Tilly, the actress. I didn't know she had some writing in her credits, but here we are. And I don't know if she has some kind of connection to Hillary Swank either. I don't know if maybe that's what helped Hillary jump on board. But look, this is a much better movie than it appears to be on the surface. This could easily have been, some kind of corny, like Lifetime type movie. It isn't that. It really isn't. There's some good acting here. The emotional scenes really worked. I was definitely in tears with this movie. I leave Ordinary Angels with a B+. And you can see this still in theaters right now. Thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It. We'll see you next time. Bye.